Hello Bitsbrood, this is Craig from bitsbox.co.uk here with a painting tutorial, and this is for the Elden Ring miniature for Tree Sentinel, and hopefully first in a few Elden Ring miniatures and painting tutorials that I intend to do. I don't really know what other miniatures to do in this series though, so if you have any suggestions please do let me know in the comments down below. And before we get into it, this video is sponsored by Golden Maple. They provide acrylic paints and brushes for miniature painting, and I'll be using some of their brushes throughout this video as well as a few others. I switch between a lot of different brushes, but they were kind enough to send me a load of brushes, and not only that, they provided a discount code that you can use on their website, and the discount code is just my name, so just Craig, and that's C-R-A-I-G with a capital C, I believe, and that'll give you 20% discount, and I'll put a link down in the description below. You might have to copy and paste it though, because YouTube is being a bit funny with links at the moment for me, I don't know why. But yeah, let's get into painting the Tree Sentinel. Alright, so here I have the Tree Sentinel miniature, and he's been undercoated with a black primer. Any black primer will do, actually just use the brush on surface primer. I'm going to start by taking some gold. It doesn't really matter what gold you use, depending on what sort of shade you want the overall look to be, but I'm going to be lightening it up by the end. But this is quite a nice mid-tone gold. I think Retributor armor would work quite well. That'll certainly cover the black even better. So I do a couple of thin coats here, and when I've done, you can see it's looking very gold. I'm going to take some lead belcher now, and this is for all these pieces of armor down here. Now I love lead belcher because it's a very, very good silver and it covers very well, but any silver would do, of course. And once that's dry, I'm going to take a darker gold. I'm just using the Negro gold from scale 75, any sort of darker gold colour, or even a bronzy colour, just to paint some random pieces of this armour down here. And I paint a few of them, just random. I'm not really following any images precisely. I'm just doing random ones. And once that's dry, it's time for a wash. And I'm just taking Agrax Earthshade with a big old brush here because I'm just going over most of the miniature with this. And yeah, just giving it a heavy helping, but spreading it around just so it sits in all them recesses and doesn't pool up too much. Now I'm taking some top brass. This is a very, very light gold colour, but a silver would work here as well, and I'm just dry brushing it over all of these areas. And you'll notice the axe weapon is bouncing around a little bit, so I had to hold it with my finger. It's quite a flexible resin that they use, so yeah, just be mindful of that with these miniatures. And then I'm taking a really light silver now, and that's to highlight further onto these silver areas. I apologise if the autofocus likes to focus on my hands more than the miniature. I apologise, I will do that at some points in this video, but hopefully you can still get a gist of what's going on. But yeah, these dry brushes really sort of just lighten up its armour quite nicely. So I'm going to work on the shield now with some Ancient Forest. Any brown would be fine here, of course. And that's to do all these like roots that are on the shield. You can see there's quite a few on there, so I'll just take a small brush and just carefully paint all of them. I think in hindsight I would have probably used a more reddish brown just so it pops a little bit more against the shield. I'm going to highlight this with a lighter brown as well, just running a thin line over with a lighter colour. So some Abaddon black now, and this is to paint the horse. And even in areas that are already undercoated in black, I still go over with this black. Of course, some areas do have a bit of gold on from our previous step, so that will need to be covered anyway. And now I'm painting the hooves in a brown. Any sort of mid-tone brown is fine. You may wish to even paint the horse brown if you so wish, but I've gone black for this one. I just thought the brown with all the gold might just be a bit too much. Taking some Cold Corpse Blue now. I really like this as a colour to highlight black, so that's exactly what I'm going to do here. I'll start by dry brushing it on the tail. I've probably gone a little bit too heavy on the dry brush at this step. You might want to do lighter, but it still looks okay. I also very carefully just dry brush it over other parts of the horse as well. But you could of course just layer it if you so wish. So now mixing in some Gravestone Blue just to make this colour even lighter, and then just doing a more gentler highlight now with the dry brush. And again, same as before, just being a bit more gentle with it and just catching the higher points just as an extra highlight. I thought mixing the two colours together would be a bit more subtle than just using this colour on its own. Alright, so taking some Amphibia red, and any red, this is just for the saddle. And yeah, so I've got to try and carefully paint it around the rider. So yeah, I mean, as beautiful as these miniatures are, having them all pre-assembled can make painting some areas quite tricky, this being one of them. But just take your time with it and just be careful. And then take Asmodeus red as a little highlight. Again, any lighter red. If you're using Citadel paints, then there's a few reds to choose from, like Mephiston red would be good at this stage. It really doesn't matter what exact paints you use. You may not even wish to paint the saddle red. I'm just following reference images. And you notice I'm just sort of stippling the highlights on here just to add a tiny little bit of texture. Then I'll take some Paladin flesh, just mixed with Abaddon black. This is going to be for the cloak. So yeah, the cloak is an interesting colour. I didn't want to just do it just black. It's got a sort of a grey, browny sort of tint to it. This is why I mixed the two colours together. I find like Paladin flesh has a sort of bit of grey in it. So it's like a grey brown. And then taking the Paladin flesh on its own. And this will be our highlight. I've thinned it down a little bit, and I'm just going to layer it over the higher areas. You can be really fancy and wet blender and things like that, but just for this miniature, I'm just getting it tabletop ready. It's just a quick paint job. And yeah, this is the best way to do cloaks if you just want a quick and dirty paint job. Just sort of layer the lighter colour over. And as long as you thin the paint down a little bit, that looks pretty good. Then taking some Morghast bone, or any sort of bone, browny, sandy colour. That's to paint these little details on there, these little patterns. And just with a small brush, just take your time and carefully paint these little patterns. Next I'm taking some Contagion green, so this is going to be for the plume on his helmet. It's like a foresty greeny colour. So I thought I'd start light and then go in with a shade for this one. So yeah, any sort of light green colour would work pretty good. And it is amazing how well these paints do go over black. I am a big fan of the two thin coats range. And then just taking a shade, I'm using a Phonian camo shade, sort of like a browny green shade. If you don't have one like that, you could mix a green and a brown together. Again, I apologise for the autofocus, but you know what's going on. So now on to the base, and I will admit I'm not overjoyed with how the base came out, but it's just quick and easy. So just a rodent grey on the stones. Now I take orc hide or any mid-tone green for the areas which I assume are grass. Of course, you could cover the base in sand or flock or anything like that, texture paint. I'm just going straight onto the base as it's got a texture. So now I take some ancient forest for the other areas which I assume are dirt. So yeah, we've got this sort of grey, green and brown on the base at the moment, and then the next step will bring them all together. And then once it's dry, we get our good friend Agrak's Earthshade, and yeah, I go over all of these areas, including the green. And when looking at the sort of reference images from the game, there is sort of like a brown within the grass, almost. So this is sort of to that sort of represent that. But it'll help bring all the colours together quite nicely as well. And then it's just a case of using some lighter colours such as Carcharodon Grey to dry brush over these areas and lighten them up. So starting with the rocks. I also always think rocks look very nice with a dark grey, a wash, and then a light grey dry brush. And then Vampire Fang for the brown. So I wanted like a light sandy sort of brown here. So that's exactly what I've gone for. So again, any sort of colour, that sort of range works. And I've probably gone a bit heavy with a dry brush here, but I think it looks okay. And then Moot Green. I love Moot Green as one of my favourite greens. A nice bright green. Maybe too bright for this, but I just want to use it. And that can go over our green areas again with the dry brush. And here is the finished miniature. And I'll just say that I've done the dry brushing in that particular order, just so I didn't have to wash the brush out between the colours, because it didn't really matter going from a grey to brown to green. But if I'd got started with a green, it would have been a bit of a nightmare. But anyway, yeah, here he is. And the first of many Elden Ring miniatures that I have to paint. So if you do want to see any painting tutorials for any other miniatures in the Elden Ring range, then certainly do let me know down in the comments, and I will make them the next ones I paint. Because I have no idea what order I'm going to paint these in. I probably won't just stick to one box, I'll probably jump between them all. And we've got some large miniatures there. If you don't know which miniatures I have, there is a video, maybe I'll link it at the end of this one, where I unbox everything that I got from the Elden Ring Kickstarter, which was a lot. That's pretty much everything. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it's useful to someone. I don't know how popular this game is or how many people have got it, but I love Elden Ring, so I had to pick it up. And yeah, I'd like to make some more painting tutorials for it going forward. So yeah, do feel free to give this video a like if you've enjoyed it, and subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so already. And all that's left to say is thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all again in the next one.